What is up, everybody? Ruben22 here, and I just recently placed top 64 at the first Lorcana challenge event in Atlanta, Georgia. I placed 47th after Swiss, playing red-blue, which means I was awarded the Let It Go and for top 128 and the Cinderella for top 64. I wanted to give my deck profile for the deck, even though there are not that many implications as we are moving into set 4 for Chicago. I wanted to give a deck profile as well as discuss the event as a whole. So we're going to start off with the deck profile, and then we will go into some form of discussion because I know more people care about the deck profile than they do my thoughts on the actual event. So yeah, let me get right to it. Disregard the Yu-Gi-Oh playmat. I did not have any Lorcana specific playmat. So I'm going to start off with the red cards, and then we'll go into the blue cards, and then we'll go into some tech choices. So the deck is very standardized, and I think the deck was pretty, a lot of the meta decks have been pretty known, and what to expect in the deck is pretty known as well. So there are some tech choices you can play, but most of it is kind of stable. So for my anti-aggro card, it's Queen of Hearts in red, for Rush. For Maui, I think this card is necessary. I don't think this card's as good right now, but it lets you, it's inkable, so the card's just crazy. I think we need to play a total of 5 of these, so 3 Medusa, 2 Queen, 2 Lady Tremaine. You can bounce between 4 and 1, 3 and 2, 2 and 3. It all depends what you think you're going to play against. I'm going with 3 Medusa just because it hits over aggro a lot more. This deck is built to be more anti-aggro than other red-blue decks. So it hits over a bunch of aggro. It also deals with Steel Song a lot better than Tremaine. But Tremaine is used for just the mirror match and just guys that play big dudes. Two of what I think the best card in the deck is Scar. This is your like Giga anti-aggro card. You play against a green deck, they like get to 7 mana, they play like 3 guys or 4 guys, and this guy just clears the whole board. Especially with Popsicle being able to heal him, and then he can just keep running over shit. This guy won me 3 games in total this past weekend, and I would never cut him from the deck. He's so good. I went with 3 Be Prepareds. Again, I want this to be more anti-aggro, so being able to get to higher mana and not work on these higher mana cards is mandatory. And if you play 4, both A, people are now playing around this card, and B, you can work on it. And then lastly, 2 Maleficent Dragons, again, to be more anti-aggro, cut this card down. Maybe you could run 3, I was originally running 3 as of Friday, but cut this down to 2 to make room for other anti-aggro cards. Next, onto the blue cards. I want to start off with what I think is mandatory in the deck, and then there were a lot more tech choices in blue than there were in red. So the cards that are mandatory in this deck for the item package were the 4 Popsicles, the 4 Quills, and the 2 Dime. These are mandatory. I think there is some consideration to maybe playing 3 of this card because you need to see this card. And I've had games where I hit a lucky dime off of 1 jump, and I'm forced to dig for the second one, or I think I have both in my deck, and I don't know I get rid of it, so I'm digging for a card that I have less of in the deck. Also, mandatory cards, 4 Hiram, 4 Tamatoa, and 4 Development Brain are mandatory for this deck. Just being able to tutor and find your cards is very, very good. The other card I think that is mandatory for this deck is 1 Jump Ahead. However, I only play 3 of them. I personally am not the biggest fan of this card, but I understand why the card is so powerful. And I just think that being uninkable, a lot of the times I actually, you only use 1, I use the other ones to just ink off a Fishbone Quill. Because again, I don't want to get rid of cards from my deck that I don't know. If I hit this and I get rid of like a Medusa, and I'm searching for a Medusa, and I've already put down 1 with Fishbone, that could hurt me trying to find an answer. So I cut this card down to 3. I still saw in almost every opening hand, and in the hands I didn't see it, I saw Quill, so it didn't matter. Onto the actual techs. I played 4 Cruella de Vil, the Fashionable Cruiser. This card gives you this card has evasive on your turn, so it gets over the Minnie Mouse in purple red. This card also, I presume if you're playing blue red, the purple red deck does not really keep teeth and ambitions in their hand, or they might ink it early. So the 2 elf isn't that big of a deal in the matchup. And this card gets over the mini, it gets over the 1-drop mini, and still trades. It trades into every Madam Mim card, because they're all at 3 HP. This card is really good, and it's also pretty good against green purple with Pascal, and it trades into all the cards that a 2/3 would not. I attacked in 2 Judy Hops. I think you need to play this for the mirror match. It's also pretty good against Steel Song if they're playing the flutes. Just being able a way to get rid of their items and their win conditions in the mirror match is insane. If you seem to have bricked and didn't see Hiram, this card can just get rid of a Popsicle early and just get you that extra draw. Also, it's a 2-quester, so it's pretty good. I think this card is also mandatory in the deck, but the ratios are can vary. So 3 Grammatala, this card's insane because it can sing How Far I'll Go. It is also very similar to the Cruella de Vil. It beats over a lot of stuff, and it gets you that cycle. So pretty good. Another card that's mandatory is Bell. I should probably play a 3rd copy of this card. There were times where I just needed and I have Dime on the field already, and I'm at like maybe 8-9 mana, and I just want to play this card down and just get the 5 mana real quick once I hit 10 mana. Whereas if you play Tamatoa down, you only get like 2 because you might only have 1 item out on the board. So getting that free 5 mana is free 5 lore is pretty important. So I'd probably play three of her. She also sings How Far I'll Go. This card's insane. Maybe I should play 3 of it. I'm not sure. The card just does a lot, and you have like 3 cards in it that can sing it. Very, very strong. As for the 1-ofs, I'm playing 1 Shield, 1 Maui Fishhook, 1 Nothing to Hide, and 1 Hades. I love 1-ofs in this deck because you are able to find them easily with cards like 1 Jump. I mean, my bad, not 1 Jump. How Far I'll Go, the Grand Matala, Develop Your Brain, and you're just digging so much in the deck where you're gonna see these 1-ofs anyway. And this card put in a lot of work. Nothing to Hide put in a lot. All these cards did a lot in where they were useful, and if not, they're just free with either Fishbone, Quill. Hades can also sing Be Prepared. I think in this deck you never want to hard cast Be Prepared unless like you need to, and having another target other than Tamatoa that can sing Be Prepared is very, very strong. Scar can also sing Be Prepared. That's it for the deck profile. Normally in a Yu-Gi-Oh deck you're supposed to get a side deck and an extra deck, but that's all I got. So let me talk about my matchups and all of that goodness. So early on in the day, I was very, the word is down bad, but I started the day off going 1-1 split 3 rounds in a row. So I split round 1 against red-blue, I split round 2 against purple-red, and I split round 3 against purple-red. So I'm very nervous about the rest of the tournament because having early splits, you want to see early 2-0s because you want to get those points as early as you can and then split later. But then I went on a very hot streak. I 2-0'd Purple Steel, which was Jafar. I 2-0'd Blue Red. I 2-0'd Blue Steel, which was my easiest matchup. I wish I saw that more. I then split again with Green Steel, which I am happy to have split because it's a very difficult matchup. Not as strong as Green Purple, but he was on the discard engine. So if he was on the mid-range engine, I'm more favored. I then needed to 2-0 my next 2 rounds to guarantee top 64. So I 2-0'd Purple Steel, which was a Floodborn deck with no Jafar, and then I 2-0'd Green Steel in the very last round, which I was flooring with. I was amazed because very difficult matchup. I very barely won game 1, which I had going first, and then game 2 my opponent bricked. He like sat on 3 mana the entire time, and I don't know, I was so happy. Very unfortunate that he bricked, but I'm glad he did, in which case I was able to take it down. And then in top 64 I played against Steel Song, which is a pretty simple matchup. However, higher seeding got to decide if they wanted to go first or second in game 1, and then loser chose after that, so he obviously went to go first. And I got turn 3 wheeled game 1, and then I got turn 2 wheeled game 3, and there was just nothing my deck could do in that regard to deal with it. I would have needed to draw into the exact opening hand I had before, because both game 1 and 3 I had the insane curve of Popsicle 1 Jump in the Hiram, or Popsicle Fishbone Quill in the Hero, or something like that. So I think if my opponent did not open up Whole New World, they were going to be in a very difficult time. But I just want to give my thoughts on the event. So firstly, I wanted to talk about best of 2, or people call it 2-game format, not best of 2, but 2-game format versus best of 3. I'm indifferent on both aspects. I definitely see I see the issue with best of 2. I also see the issue with best of 3 in a game that does not have a sideboard or a side deck. In a best of 3, the deck that goes first is more likely to win that set. Obviously, there's probably still a 35-40% chance where the deck going second game 1 wins the set, but it's less likely. In the best of 2, having the ability to split and have a higher chance both ends going first to at least get points does not punish somebody for losing a die roll. However, what this does reward is it rewards super high rolly decks, in decks like Steel Song or these discard decks or hyper aggro, in hoping that, you know, they get an early Whole New World off, or they hope to get an early Ursula Deceiver of All or Prince John, or just see very, very good cards early. I was actually surprised by the large amount of purple red in the top 64. I thought that this deck was the ultimate split deck, and you're going to see a ton of 1/1s all over the place because the deck had not many good matchups, but it didn't have any bad matchups. So I thought it was going to be 50-50, 50-50. So very surprised by that. I want to congratulate Joshua for winning the event with purple yellow, amethyst at amber. The deck was extremely different, and it's what I love about card games, in which case my somebody is using overlooked cards or underused cards, and makes a deck that tops or wins, in this case wins an event with them. So it's really cool that we are in set 3. Set championships happened. We thought we knew the meta, and this deck that nobody ever heard about or saw just comes along and wins the event. So really cool. I want to talk about PPG and the main event and side event and how they went about it. So I think that the main event was extremely smooth. The only timing it was not extremely smooth, or at least on PPG's end, the only time it was not smooth, I would say, was the end of round 9, where they were actually dealing with tiebreakers and the actual player standings. I thought that myself included, a lot of other players were just sitting around waiting for something to happen, and nothing happened. But overall, the main event went extremely smoothly. We got an entire hour for lunch, and it still ended around, well, I would say round 9 ended around like 9 o'clock or 9:15, which is very, very good for a tournament that has a 1-hour lunch break. Yu-Gi-Oh! Generally only gives 15 minutes plus, you know, like, here's your time, and then here's 15 minutes extra. Lorcana gave the round timer, and then a whole hour extra. So very cool. However, I think that side events were very bad. So I chose to, I had my flight for the very end of the evening on Sunday. It was like 11 p.m. because I wanted to either, if I did not perform, I wanted to grind side events, I wanted to grind promos and whatever. But when I lost my top 64 match, they were firing side events so slowly, and there were such huge lines and so many people waiting, that I just chose not to even be in the convention center anymore. I went to MomoCon, I went to the World of Coca-Cola, I just did whatever without actually grinding side events, just to save my sanity. So I hope that, I mean, that's 100% on PPG's end and not on Ravensburger or whatever, so I hope that Chicago or something hosted by somebody else is different. I know for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Region, a Yu-Gi-Oh! YCS on that scale, we would have about 200 to 250 side events going on per that day. They just fire 8-man side events and just keep them going. So I hope that for Chicago and for Fort Worth and for Toronto, they get that shit together. One of the coolest things with the event is I love seeing all the families. I knew that this was going to attract a much more casual player base, but seeing all the husbands and wives and their kids playing, and the guys that brought their girlfriends and the girlfriends are also playing, is something new in the card game realm that we don't see in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, where it's usually just males between 20 to 35 or 20 to 40, and then they bring their girlfriends and the girlfriends just sit there. But here, having the girlfriends actually enjoy the game and the kids play the game, it really gives you hope for the future of TCGs. So really, really cool. And I just want to see, like, the implications for Chicago. Nobody knows. And I'm going to talk about this on Competitive Cards United, the card table, after Chicago. But, like, this gives you no information. Nobody knows what Set 4 has in store. So I'm excited for Chicago. I'm probably not going to attend, but I'm excited for whoever goes and whoever wins. I think there's 2 or 3 popular decks that people are getting on, but I don't think anybody knows what is actually the best. And we're still playing with cards from the new set, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. So thank you all for stopping by. I hope to see you on the card table. which I will have a next Yu-Gi-Oh episode on after Indy next week. And then we'll do another Lorcana segment after Chicago. So everybody have a great day. Roots 1-2 out. Peace.